Guys, AJ is back. For the record, today is Saturday, March 1st, 5:27 p.m. So, I love this number, 27. Anyway, so it's been a few days. I have not posted, not because I don't want to post. There are reasons. Number one, life happens, and we've got a few things here to share with you. And also, there's the, unfortunately, the inconvenience of technology. So I always have to delete, post a video. So I'm posting like for what, 45, 50 minutes or so, sometimes over an hour. And then, it takes a lot of space because I'm shooting video, right? So, you got to see this face, you got to talk to me or engage or whatever. You can, post your question below. But, this is going to be an interesting video for those who, for the first time maybe coming across myself. This is my channel. You're just talking to me. I'm the brand. I'm the person. I don't sell this shit. I just tell you my life experience. So feel free to to jump off. But this video is a subject of also evidence as part to a lawsuit. So a case before the King's Bench, Supreme Court. I don't give a rat's, so to speak, a rat's ass. So last I checked, it used to be we live in Canada. So Canada is a federal incorporated basically entity. So it's a government for profit, obviously. And under the federal, laws, that would be the Supreme Court of Canada. But, I just don't know. I don't trust in the process. I don't know if that's, is the case. And, if, the Supreme Court of Canada order is being, avoided or ignored by no other than the government of Canada, that tells me that the, my battle here is, kind of out to lunch already. Because you've got a government, a duly elected government and the office, so that is the government, under the Liberal Party, and then they're basically they lose their impact assessment for the environment because now Alberta as the province is fighting against net zero initiatives and climate change nonsense propaganda and scam, so to speak. Because again, jurisdiction, it's a question of jurisdiction and applying the rule of the law. And, I'm speaking a lot of, keywords here, buzzwords, if you will. Buzzwords if you're new to, legally, so to speak, legal language. That is the lingo, right? So jurisdiction essentially is, the borders, that's your jurisdiction. That's your sovereignty over that particular, borders or, boundaries. They talk about setting boundaries and, resilience and bullshit, but it is the same system that is fucking you up. So what is that? What do I mean by that? So I left Ottawa. I was made fugitive, and again I come to Alberta, and here I am in essentially Brooks, and I found my new home. But meanwhile I came here about a couple of weeks ago or so. I came here. I saw the community mosque, and I talked to the people here. They were very friendly and welcoming, and so. I'm about to go to the city because I want to basically bring my business cards. I came here for a living, to establish my business and promote myself as an entrepreneur engineer because, I have a court before the Supreme Court of Canada for my child custody, but everything's connected. So, I'm trying to start fresh, so to speak, be able to defend my national rights and freedom, my inalienable national rights and freedom, because that's right. That's what the, government of Canada has basically done to me, and the government of Canada and their stooges are accused of basically ignorance of the law themselves. Section 19 of the Criminal Code, RSC 1985 CC 46. So you have to understand what the criminal code is. So you get served an offense, and the government can only operate within a framework, and I keep talking about that. That basically triangle, that trust, right? So trust essentially, the government can dictate, and that's parliament for you. So the government can dictate laws, and those laws can basically are acts of parliament, legislature. So we have the parliaments, or if you're in Alberta, you have the, what is it, the legislative assembly, so to speak, member of legislative assembly. So that's MLA for you. So in Brooks, Alberta, we have MLA as premier, the premier herself, Miss Danielle Smith. So I figured, what, when I speak this, I'm sure, the honorable and the righteous, premier would understand what, section 92 of the, British North American Act 1867. And that is basically when Canada was established. You had the first original, so to speak, settlements, French English settlements, Upper Canada being Ontario, Lower Canada, Quebec, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. So yeah, the French and the English fighting, when they came way back in 1584, right? That's when they discovered the Americas, because suddenly they were aliens on this land, and they slaughtered everybody. And then now they're coming back and they're telling, reconciliation and the truth, because, residential schools and, the whole shenanigans. So if you're Indigenous man to Mother Earth, you've been displaced from your homeland to elsewhere, Indigenous land to elsewhere. Well, you have been a victim of the colonial, so to speak, project. So Canada is no difference, but the problem is this, now we are civilized people, right? We are civilized people, so we are now in the 21st century, civilized people, and the civil, basically, code is nothing but a French-based secular system. So that is basically your, the Constitution, is essentially the supreme law of the land. Now you have the civil code, which I quoted earlier, the, RSC 1985 CC 46. That is the criminal code for Canada, and that is federal. So, if you're charged with felony or criminal crime, in Canada, you are charged criminally, and that is the record. That's your criminal record. And it's federal because, if whether you're Ontario or, Vancouver, British Columbia, you name it, it doesn't matter. You're Canadian, you got that, record, so to speak, the bad mark, right? You got a bad mark on your record. And that will prevent you from getting a job. And if you're a permanent resident, you cannot even become a Canadian citizen, because remember, you have to be a law-abiding citizen. You have to, pass that trust, and it takes 3 years to build and establish trust in Canada for the government before you are eligible to apply for citizenship and for the government to actually grant you that citizenship right. Or privileges, I should say, not rights, the privileges. Access rights, privilege right. Anyway, so why I'm saying this is because there's, a lot of people who are born in the country, and there's a lot of people who are coming to Canada from outside. So Canada, basically, we are not the same as USA, the United States of America. And, there's a clear distinction. America is, so to speak, irrespective, it's still democratic, both are democratic. But, at the end of the day, America actually has, earned its freedom. That's right. Earned its freedom from what? Or sovereignty, so to speak, the sovereignty. So because the American Revolution, the wars of independence happened in 1784, and you had George Washington as your first president. So, 1784, the French had lost, or 1775, they had just lost to the English, right, in the Battle of Quebec. So France lost to English in the Battle of Quebec, 1775, and, 1784, not much after that. Well, the American figured, well, France has lost, we now can fight for our own, so to speak, sovereignty and, separate or, become independent from the English crown, because UK was the, under the British Empire. That was basically the empire, ruling empire of the time, right, the realm. So, the American, of course, fought, and against the English crown, and they, earned and won their, so to speak, independence, throughout the war, during the War of Independence. So that's why it's called the War of Independence, 1784. And, they became, so to speak, a republic. Well, still democratic, essentially, system is democratic, but it's, more close to a republic when at least they were first started. So there's a difference between a democracy versus a republic, whereas democracy is essentially majority rules, and that is democracy for you, majority rules, whereas the republic, the rule of the law, rules or wins by default. So for example, in Canada, we are a democratic country, but there's corruption, and the corruption is basically, it only takes, it's only a matter of time before the corruption, infiltrate various, government entities, and, before you know it, you are guilty before, proven innocent. Right? So it's like default, normally a fundamental justice. So Canada, in 1867, we have the country that, came into existence, the new Canada, so to speak, the Dominion, 1867. So now, why am I saying Section 92 and what that means? Essentially, Section 92 allows, a province or natural person or some other, entity, so to speak, but, mostly for provinces and, natural people. You can go back and read on the Constitution, 1867, Section 92, what that means and what translates to. But there was a reason why they changed the, British North American Act from its name to, 1867 to the Constitution Act in 1982. Because what happened in that, year, 1982, we simply, as Canadian, patrioted from, London, England, the Parliament that was there, and we simply moved it to Ontario. As simple as what? It's because, jurisdiction, because, London, England have no idea. They are a remote satellite, so to speak, a governing body. If you are to be, governed by, an entity or, government, remember, you have to be represented representing those people, and you cannot be representing an alien, right? So you're like, you're not an arm length, you're far. So, to keep things, under the colonial hush-hush project, so now 1867, the BNA Act is renamed to the Constitution in 1982. And, there were, various movements, for Quebec at the time and the French people to separate. You had the FML movement and, Trudeau fathers and, the Bill of Rights. And, you can read on the history, man. I'm not here to school you on history and, your own, so to speak, political, background or stripe. So, this is just Canada for us. We come here. And for what? The lands are free, right? So we Canadian, we pride ourselves by being nice and humble, and you can push us around, and it's okay, because we're Canadian, we're nice people, all right. But there's a limit. And basically, this is the subject of my testimony right here. We're talking. You're tuning in, so this is public record, right? I'm gonna be submitting this, so I figured why go about the court system? You're gonna navigate. It's like a maze, man. They make you go through all sort of shit just because the rule of the law is very clear. The problem is this: the application of the law and justice is the convoluted part of the problem. And then now they are going to revamp, right? They are since 2020 and pandemic, scamdemic. We are now basically revamping our government agencies and websites, so everything is online and digital. So here we are. This is my basically good faith, and this is a video. You see who I am. My name is very clear of who I am and what I'm saying. So now, essentially, Alberta joined much later. So in 1905, Alberta has joined Canada. And, there was a preferential treatment if you were in the first for, settlements that had, formed the Dominion of Canada, right? Now, the Quebecs, because they are French and they lost the war, of Quebec, or the battle, so to speak, the Battle of Quebec. And the French people are just, they are who they are. There was a deep and hatred, animosity between the French and the English, which, predates, man. Predates. Like, go back to the Crusades, even before that. And the idea is basically, once the French had lost the Battle of Quebec to the English, and the Americans were basically fighting for the War of Independence in 1784. Hallelujah! France decides, because Napoleon was busy, busy fighting the English and busy fighting a front in Egypt and whatnot, North Africa, so to speak. It's expansion, wars of expansion, territorial expansion, right? So they figured, we cannot now fight the Americans in 1784. So what did they do? They send them the Statue of Liberty, as symbol of recognition, so to speak, recognizing their sovereignty as a individual independent states from the crown, because remember they lost to the English, so now they want to give the English the middle finger, so to speak, by recognizing America's sovereignty. And that's how America came to exist. And then the history, Republican versus Democrats. And there's a reason why in 1862, so to speak, you had the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln, no other. And again, if you read the history and if you are well versed with the background and with the story as to what happened, so there's a reason why Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in 1865. And again, the deep state, the whatever it is. But listen, at the end of the day, a government is not the problem. The government is not the problem. There's always, because government is made of what? Individuals, people. At the end of the day, you have somebody who is going to be applying the rule of the law and enforcing, because the government can only operate within the framework. You have government, right? Parliament dictates law, so that's your acts. Then you have the law executor, so the executive branch of the government, and then you have what? The judiciary system. And the idea is that's your court system, whereas cops, that's law enforcement, and then you have the government. So parliament, basically democracy essentially is majority rules. So, and there's nothing wrong with democracy being a democracy where majority rules. The problem is this: unchecked, democracy can turn into lawful dictatorship. Lawful dictatorship. It's not unlawful. It's, well, they got parliament, they're passing laws. Before the laws pass, it's a motion. So motions introduced in the parliament, House of Commons, and some MP, some schmuck dreams up of a bell, and all of a sudden he comes to the parliament. Oh, okay, what do we do? It's a court theater. So now what do? You just review the motion and the majority rules, and it doesn't take much time before a good governing system it's like cancer, right? It doesn't take much time after that spreads out through the government, and now you have corruption, majority corrupt people. So majority corrupt people basically translate to majority corrupt system. And and that goes back to your individual basically character and integrity as a person. So you don't have to be, listen man, a person of faith or not doesn't matter. As a person, like, do you have a character? Do you have an integrity? Is it money that is pushing through, and somebody else has bought you, and there's corruption at various levels of the government? Of course, I can speak from experience. So, it's not difficult, man. The system is comprised of 3 levels. You have, bylaws, regulation, municipalities. So that's lower courts. And then, followed by, the provincial, right? Provincial, which is, essentially the province, provincial. And then above that, you have the federal, right? That was the train. It's beautiful, man. Beautiful scenery here. It's like, it's in the countryside, in the boonies, it's, you talk to people and they resonate with you, you talk to real human beings, right? Whereas in Ottawa, you're the subject of discrimination, prejudice, and defamation, and, discriminatory bias, just simply because you know too much information. And suddenly there's so much lawlessness that they will not even admit to their own fuckery. That's right. So when you violate and, basically breach someone else's jurisdiction, understand the jurisdiction, right? So we are entrusting in the government. So you as basically a sovereign citizen, everybody is a sovereign man in the context of a society, right? Whereas you're a free man if you're, in the jungle. You're a natural person. So we are all now civilized people, right? So we don't live in the jungle anymore. That's the land. But now we live in the matrix. So it's the city dwellers, we call us. And that is corporations, essentially. The city of Ottawa, they need to basically go on the land. They need to establish offices on the land. It's not like they're establishing offices in the air or on the water. You go do that. And that's why you have laws of the land and laws of the sea, right? So, the law of the sea is maritime laws, corporate laws. And, when the whatchamacallit, the European first came here, right? I mean, they came as an expedition, right? It was ships everywhere. And that's why it's called maritime law. Because in life, you only need to know 2 things. Trust law, number 1. Trust law. Trustee, right? Trustee being the government. And then, you have the law enforcement. And then you have the beneficiary. So trustee, executive branch, as well as your beneficiary. So we are taxpayers. We are Canadian. We are taxpayers. If you work for the government or you work for private sector and you are paying into your SIN account, so your SIN card, which is your social insurance number, because you don't have to pay for your sins, because the secular people do not believe in the Lord Almighty and He's the creator. Now they believe in the Darwinist bullshit agenda that now you're a monkey who evolved to the human body form, but your intellect remains that of a monkey. So the secular world rejects the concept of or the notion of the Almighty Lord. So now they tell you it's it is it's secular. We're a secular world. Basically, we're science based. Okay, great. But last I checked, science is nothing but the observation of what natural and universal phenomena. We observe in this Earth. We call Mother Earth. So before your bullshit 1982 Constitution, which got patriated, and your man-made bylaws, 1985, where you have now the criminal code, before that can even exist under the civil code. Understand? You had the 1982. The supreme law of the land in Canada is what? Is the Constitution of 1982, clause, clause 52.1. That's the supremacy clause, right? And that is basically, any law that is, in contradiction or violation of the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution in Canada, right? Basically is, null and void. So it's not because your laws are, unlawful or basically, they're bogus. No, it's because you are just going about breaking parent law and you're a child law. So if you're in a municipality, you have a parent law that is provincial. And again, the provincial, if they deny you or they violate your national rights and freedom, which is safeguarded and, protected by no other than the Constitution of 1982, well, they are liable. So, you're inalienable. That's why they call it inalienable, right? Inalienable national rights and freedom. Because, they do not, submit to the fact that there is the Lord, the Creator, Almighty, right? So, and they go about, preaching to the world that, if you're Christian, no problem. If you're Trump, you can speak of the Lord, you can speak of Jesus, no problem. But, if your name is AJ, you speak about the facts, what's happening before your eyes, fucking you're thrown in jail. Well, it's okay, I'm not a world leader. I got this, sideways turban. If I can roll, a thing, I'll become a Sikh. But I got more help from a Sikh brother than most Muslim brothers here, in Calgary. That's why I left Calgary. I came here because the OPP, this is the breach of trust I'm talking about. So the OPP, the Ontario Provincial Police, right? Had assaulted me, right? This is, provincial police, because when I call 911 in Ottawa, that's federal, but then, they know you're Ontario, so they send you the provincial police. And they trust the fact that you are going to be what? Applying the rule of the law. So they don't send you RCMP. I was on Parkdale, so they're going to send you 911, OPP, or provincial police, right? So, unfortunately for myself, I thought I'm dealing with proper people, but they just shot me. They tasered me. Like I was just protesting unlawful, seizure and basically arrest. And the facts are there. I have yet to receive those allegations. This was basically August 24th incidents. We are now like March 1st, man. Come on. I'm still waiting. So what I do, I come to Alberta, and before you know it, I'm near Okotoks, right? Okotoks, and then now it's the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Like, they are federal entity. They're representing the arm of Canada. They are actually Canada's, police arm, so to speak, police force. There's the Canadian government's arms, so to speak, right? They are at arm length. And this guy, he comes at me, I produce my passport. Like, it's the first time he uses a passport. Like, he was expecting an alien because, I look Middle Eastern, right? Like, that's the prejudice. He comes at me, he tells me, oh, I give him my passport. He wants an ID. Like, what? That's my passport. What's it to you? So essentially, they proceed into robbing me and denying me my shelter, my mobile, a rental vehicle that I had basically rented from Ottawa because they had put me in a mental, right? I had just been released from the mental because they had unlawfully detained me without, I was there involuntary basis. They had basically handcuffed me and take me from where I was under a tree chanting hallelujah, right? All the way to the hospital in Montfort where against my will, I did not give no consent, and suddenly, I'm being shot with 2 unlawful injections. Why? Last I checked, I was in Canada. The human rights, or this is what, dog rights? The dog would be treated better. But that's the shit that they preach to the world. That's the shit that they'll come to Canada. We can take care of you. You got all the refugees. But listen, they got 4+ million people brought into the land, what we call Canada, over the last 4 years. And, they are, a mix. But they claim refugees. They claim this, that, Listen, 80% of the mix are not good people. 80%. They're all coming here just to pass some time. I traveled, I can say that, because I drove from Ottawa all the way to Alberta, and I drove just as much. I put just as much mileage on the rental, in Edmonton and surrounding area, as well as in Calgary and surrounding area. Here I am in Brooks. So guess what? So I got a feel, I got a vibe, and Calgary is just a big city. There's something called smart cities. And for those who don't understand technology, smart cities essentially is that idea that you no longer need to leave the city. It's a 15-minute, and you don't need even a car or something. You have transportation, and the idea is you have all the amenities you need. From hospital to schools, university, everything you need, all the amenities, everything. So you no longer need to leave the perimeter of these districts or so-called smart cities, right? And, that's for your Hunger Games. It's not the fact that I'm speaking. It's just because I understand technology. I'm an aerospace electronic system design engineer. So I know how the system works, because to design a system, you need certain, inputs, and based on the inputs, the system will only operate based on how you design it. I'm an engineer. So, I cannot, design an airplane to fly, and then suddenly, the plane is going to crash. That's the problem. I have to obey the law. Which law? Natural laws, because that's physics, that's math, otherwise I'm liable. The same thing. This is the government. It's a system. It's put by no other than lawmakers. So they come up and the Stooges, they all meet up in the same room, and, based on who you pay more, and, money talks. And at the end of the day, it's nothing wrong with the system itself, democracy or republic or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter. It's corruption, because that is the root cause of, say, the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring happened like over the last 10-12 years, and Bashar Assad has been ousted, so to speak, and the West is so happy to go and spread democracy like they did to Iraq, like they did to Libya, like they did all these Vietnam, like they did to all the other countries. It's not pertinent or specific to Damascus, Syria, and the Middle East. No, you have to understand, the fuckery is beyond that. So yeah, I'm well versed because I know my history. I know where I'm coming from. I'm an indigenous Palestinian born refugee in the city of Damascus. I came here in 1999, on to going to high school, getting on the dean list, scholarship. I went to get aerospace electronic system design engineering. I finished in 2009. I started working in the industry since 2006. I had my first internship at no other than a French-based, telecom company called Alcatel, which is bought by Lucent. Alcatel-Lucent, they merged in 2008. I was invited again for a 5th term, and then before Alcatel-Lucent now is Nokia, and we know who owns Nokia, and we know who owns Microsoft. So it's not difficult, and everything is it's like small fish eat big, big fish eat small fish. And that is the industry for you, and everything is just a pyramid. Everything is a fucking triangle. You got the executive. If I have my own business as an incorporation or a corporation or whatever the case may be, as long as you're a legal entity, right? Where you have limited liability. So you have different business types. You have sole proprietary, so I can work for myself with my own name, or I can have a trade name, register that with the city. I'm working with my trade name. I'm Bob's your uncle. I'm assuming all liabilities, because that is the case. Who's assuming the liability? Because in business, things can happen. And, if you do not deliver on the contract terms, because remember, there's a trust. First is the trust, right? You trust, you're talking. So a man is his word. So now I'm talking to you. I'm offering you a service. A contract has to be written. And the same thing with the government or the, Rogers or some other, service provider you sign a deal with, right? Read the damn contract, right? So, and there's a thing. You have to understand who is liable. in the event when there's a dispute, who is liable? And that is why you need insurance, and that's why you need, to get people involved, and you have lawyers, to represent you. But that's different when you have a business versus a natural person. All businesses are nothing but basically, subject to corporate laws. Corporate laws, because they're fictitious. They're, entities. Corporate laws. So maritime laws applies. Commerce. Why you have a business is to transact. The reason why you have a business in the first place is so you go about life and buy and sell. So you need to sell your goods or buy. So, you buy, import, it doesn't matter. You're buying and selling services. So now, basically, you need a business, and that's a fictitious entity, because a business can, unless you're doing with your own name and your own craftsmanship, and you're the blacksmith doing, you're building, you're welding swords all day long, then, that's something you cannot automate. That's the passion, that's your craft. You cannot franchise that. You can if you want, but it's not going to be the same quality or the same belt. So, whereas a company, and that's why businesses, big corporation likes to work with big corporation, because, they understand big corporation is just an entity that is, got deep pockets, and they will be in business, for years to come, because even if the CEO goes, somebody else will come and replace that person, because you have a board of director. So the board of director basically are essentially the MPs, if you will, of a corporation. The CEO is the equivalent of the prime minister, and the CEO is basically elected or nominated by no other than the board members. And then you got shares, you have A, B classes, different, and then you have the employees, which have to have buy option before you actually can receive some of the shares, right? But you spend your life working for somebody, right? Giving away free intelligence, IP, that is, right? Because now suddenly you're a monkey, they give you this job description, and the job description is this much, but then your tasks are this much, right? Contract is void. You're not paying me enough for all this. You're only paying me for this. They pay you 20% what you're worth for the job you're doing. But if you're but if you go out on your own, like myself, and I'm an entrepreneur, I work for myself, I don't give a shit how much I set my price, and based on my product, and the service I offer, this is my word, this is my action, follows through, you trust me or you do not, this is the contract, and then we go. Bob's your uncle, but we're in business. You have a contract in place, and, my basically, product is going to speak for itself. My record will speak for itself. So now you're coming at me with the allegation that I'm somehow a public safety risk, or for some reason. Look, man, like when the justice system is against you to begin with, that's not impartial justice. That's not fundamental justice. That's section 1, 2 of the Constitution. You don't have to go far, man. You're already coming at me with prejudice that I'm criminal. What world do we living in? But I understand, because the secular world, you are now, listen to this bogus. So imagine if I were to go and sue anybody, I can sue anybody. Remember. But now suddenly the onus is on the defendant to basically prove the facts otherwise. Last I thought is, if I'm suing you, I have to bring the evidence, right? So when now the police officer pulls me over, essentially they're suing me for 5 criminal allegations. But last I checked, they need to provide, the onus is on them to provide the case, right? And the judge and justice, the evidence before the court, before a jury, a public, a jury, which is, like a panel of juror, right? And they have to basically prove without, a reasonable doubt, like without a shadow of a doubt, that, no reasonable doubt here, that, I committed offense, that they commissioned against me. Before I was tasered 5 shots, right? 5 times, I got tasered, and then they had pressed against me five charges. Why? So I'm denied basic right. Like, I was taken to the custody unlawfully. All right, you had no reason to shoot me and taser me, let alone confiscate my vehicle. Right? Like, come on. We live in Ottawa. Like, I'm a citizen. I produced my passport. I told you I was reaching for my passport at the back of my car. You pulled me over, you're, social profiling me? Like, what reason do you have to just block my way and cut my way? I'm driving. I'm going from point A to point B. I cause no damage, no harm, no nothing. I have a liability insurance. So what is it to you? Oh, suspended driver license. Well, great. Thank you for letting me know. I did not know that. So now I'm handcuffed, and then, I'm being searched and whatnot. Unlawful search. Again, you break in your own code book. You cannot just do that. So now I'm asserting, like, I was compliant with you, right? This is Yusuf and Brandon's story, right? Like, I was compliant, and then for 20 minutes I was, being searched, and then, they put me in the back of the cruiser, and for 20 other minutes they're searching my car. It's like, come on, whoa, what? Like, this is not Syria. This is not the Syrian regime, right? Dictatorship. You are about to go and liberate Iraq. That's what happened. Is that where they brought you from? They taught you? Because when I last asked the guy how long he has been in Canada, he tells me 9 months. I'm like, 9 months? Are you the police? It's like, no, in the country. So you brought in people here from outside Canada who do not even, understand how laws are made here, and what Constitution means, and what is the supreme law of the land. Again, go back to your Constitution, 1982, Clause 52, 1, supremacy clause. And then They try to go about and fabricate evidence. Guess what? The same constitution, the father, parent law, because Canada would not be able to exist, and without Canada, you have no parliament. So, rules of hierarchy. We don't have to even argue. Common law. This is just your own book. But guess what? There's also natural law, which supersedes, because nature supersedes your bullshit, right? And that's the Magna Carta. If you go back to 1215 Magna Carta, again, it's not that, you know, it's not something we use in today's law. Magna Carta is not used, but you have to understand what the Magna Carta is. It had laid the foundation for modern day democracy, right? So, yeah, go, read on, understand where you're from, who you are. So when I'm defending, I'm not just defending myself, because listen, they try to basically, you know, pull this trick out of a rabbit hat. The first two times, suddenly, like, I'm, you know, primary ground for the prosecutor in Ottawa, that I have a similar allegation in a different jurisdiction called Quebec, which again, those allegations were being dropped because I'm winning. I went to the first court motion, the second, the third, the fourth, August 16th. Before you know it, I got my date for the September 10th, you know, Superior Court of Justice, because I was in the lower court. And suddenly they wanted to, you know, strike a deal with me. The Crown Prosecutor, no other than the Crown Prosecutor, that is pushing charges against me. She wants to now strike a deal with me after that they were acting in bad faith in the first place. I mean, you drop charge, you know, you're dropping charge number one. Why are the secondary charges remaining? And now suddenly you want to basically reduce the charges from, you know, indictment to summary conviction. Why should I fucking agree to that bullshit? I did nothing wrong. Bro, bring your evidence. I'm innocent until proven guilty. So anyways, so that's kind of, you know, what happens. And, you know, of course, I rejected the proposal. And, you know, here we are at the, you know, 10th of September comes along. And, you know, I show up to my court. It's cancelled. No shit. Because previous to that, they, you know, they were hoping I would be still stuck in jail from the 25th of August till the 25th of September. And thereby, you know, forfeiting my right to defend myself. But guess what? Their plan backfired. So now, you know, I come to Alberta because, you know, they run out of options. So the third time around, you know, they dispatch OPP. I was in Alfredtown and then, you know, visiting my godmother and my godfather. And suddenly, you know, before you know it, the fucking Stooges, OPP, they come and they intimidate. It's like, listen, I told you I don't want to go. I was fine under the tree. Leave me alone. I gave no consent. I'm sitting here meditating. I'm doing my own prayers. What's it to you people? The guy, of course, there's, you know, 3 officers, you know, or 2 or 3. Anyways, there was a bunch of officers. But, you know, at least two were next to me or 3. And then I'm thinking about, okay, I don't want to be like, you know, beaten up by police officers and their word against my word. I think, you know what? I already told him I do not consent. He should understand what that means. Now he breaks the law. He breaches my jurisdiction. He violates my national rights, inalienable national rights and freedom. Unlawfully transfers me to all the way to friggin' French hospital. I do not consent to. I did not agree to. I did not, you know, I told you I do not want to. If anything, take me to Ottawa. I'm from Ottawa. They take me to Ottawa General Hospital. But no, I'm going to the French because I'm French. I look French, right? They're racist. You know, they're just racist towards me. The same people who knocked me down on the 17th of, you know, November 2023, and they knocked my tooth, right? I have the experience. Listen, I have the evidence. I'm the body. And then, you know, you have, you know, your, you know, 911 cruiser tasering you. I mean, again, this is the taser mark. It's not blasphemy here. I'm saying I'm not reading a book for you. Everything comes from my mind, not because I'm incapacitated. So the Stooges, you know, on the 18th of December, the very same day that I was supposed to actually, you know, I had just submitted my application, right, for the Superior Court of Justice. No, sorry, for the Supreme Court of Canada. Sorry, this is for the Supreme Court of Canada. You know, concerning my child custody, because previous to that, I had been, last I checked, we had an amicable divorce agreement, but suddenly the Western Quebec School Board got involved because, you know what, I have suspicious that there is a breach of trust. And suddenly now I'm being separated from my child. Now, they are pressing charges against me, but they cannot do that because they have no jurisdiction. The Stooges, you know, and the Western Quebec School Board. So now what they do is, they implicate my wife, my ex-wife, that is. We had amicable divorce agreement until you showed up. That's right, until you showed up, Tremblay. Right? And then you unlawfully basically give the, you know, the ill advice to my ex that she basically pushes and, you know, sue me. Great tactics, but guess what? You're too much of an idiot. Because now you have just basically you're on breach of trust. You're criminal negligence. Like, there's so much I can throw at you. So basically, you know, that day I received the email on the 3rd of December, I believe, or the 4th. I have to double check my email. And then, you know, here I am. You know, before you know what, you know, I see this alien at Tim Hortons, and, you know, before you know what, I'm taken to the custody, you know, revoked surety. But now, the 3rd time around, I'm in the jail from the, because the first time around 25th of August to the 29th, so that's were like, 6 nights, so to speak. My mom, she came as a surety the first time around with bullshit, kind of like unjust, release conditions that, are very stressful. Like, I have to be at home from 10 p.m. till 6 in the morning. I'm supposed to live with my mom, who she was now at the time residing at, City of Ottawa community housing. Go figure, like the shittiest out of the shittiest shitholes you can live in, 265 Regina Street. Go find out, how many times the ambulance and the police department and the fire station shows up. Just go pull up the record, public inquiry. And then basically, I helped her move to Walkley Road, right? And then what happened is, the second time around, my father, so I go on my first court appearance on the 17th of September. Detained. Next day, my father comes, revoke surety. Detained, taken to custody. I was at the courthouse in Elgin. Where's the judge? Why can't I see a judge? No, not tomorrow. So anyways, tomorrow they have to cook the deal, right? So tomorrow this was, I believe, the 17th was a Wednesday. So Thursday, my dad shows up. Now they have a justice of the peace, the crown prosecutors, throwing them nonsense allegation. Remember, now they're basically, I've been saying that my case before the, jurisdiction of Quebec is basically being dropped. And if anything, you have no reason, you have no right to go and basically and find out and, dig deep about some allegation that have yet to be proven before the court in a different jurisdiction. Like, what bullshit is this? So, the second time around, the prosecutor, now the crown, the Stooge, he's, trying to discredit my dad as, a surety, because suddenly my dad and my mom, they were separated. So, and there's, what is it to you, my dad and my mom, they're separated? What is that relationship has to do with the court case here, with the allegation before the court? What is my mom and dad relationship has to do with this? Like, what nonsense is this? So then, they released me on my father's surety. This time around, my father was supposed to live in my house, on Uplands, 223415 Uplands Drive, which is now being rented for a brother of mine. His name is Kyle Lagur. So, again, we can bring the people, bring the facts, bring the evidence. Yeah, I have financial problems. I have been pledging with the bank to basically loan me at the time before I had to do what I have to do. At the end of the day, it's salvation of life. I got to do what I got to do. Because now, my natural rights, just to go about life and pursue life and happiness and, just a decent living, I cannot even do that in my own hometown. So I got to leave. So now the 18th of December, I had just got my application for the Supreme Court of Canada, to basically apply. And my understanding is over 600 people apply and only 10% gets in. So great, I got accepted on the day of. But on the 18th of the day of, on the 18th, suddenly OPP is dispatched. I'm transferred to the Montfort Hospital, and a French hospital that is. And then they put me with this Dr. Peter Stooge, who has yet to speak with me. I woke up next day because remember when they got me to the hospital, I refused. I refused. I did not give consent for my feet treatment because God forbid you're walking barefoot. I mean, last time I checked, a dog walked barefoot. What's it to you people? It's natural. I come from the Mukhayyim al-Yarmouk camp. I told you I was born refugee. I'm a Palestinian born refugee. Last I checked, we only started wearing shoes not many centuries ago. So go back. Go back. We were just living in caves not long ago before this digital world and electricity that now Alberta is fighting against federal government because of net zero scam, like I said. But again, I'm the engineer. I can speak. I can substantiate my claim. But you, on the other hand, have nothing. You have yet to produce a disclosure. So when are you going to produce the disclosure? At the Supreme Court with all the fabricated evidence that you have. Guess what? Section 24. Section 24, right? Not the remedies. Section 24-2. Exclusion of evidence. Because there will be remedies. That's right. That's my part of my civil claim. So why am I suing you if it wasn't for, the fact that you violated my inalienable natural rights and freedom? My constitutional right. My indigenous right. And also my civil right. Come on. What bullshit is this? I mean, the civil code, you have civil rights as well. Treat me as a civilian, as a human being, decent. What's wrong with you? But anyways, so, the last 3 days I wasn't able to upload anything because, I have to delete and make room, make space. So, yes, on the 27th of February, it was a beautiful day. My brother Ammar, essentially, Ammar Sarhan, who is the subject of a, unlawful and bogus allegation before the lower court, Calgary Court of Justice. And, here I am. I'm going to be taking his case to essentially the Supreme or the King's Bench. It doesn't matter. This man is innocent. And he was in my care. Up until yesterday, I left. I left him at the mosque. I met him at the mosque and I left him at the mosque. And also, met my brother, so Ammar Sarhan, I met him at the mosque. The very same time I had met my other brother, his name is Abdul Hamid Sultan. So Ammar's story, he's been here for 5 years. My other brother, he's been here only for 2 years. He's a Canadian government-sponsored Syrian refugee, right? He was brought in. He came from Turkey, about 2 years ago already. He has lost his, ability to be with his kids and his wife as the head of the house, under the common law. Because, you are here together under common law, you are married. You were not married in Canada, you were married back somewhere else. But Canada has to essentially what? Bring you in as a family, and they must acknowledge the common law that you guys have in common, because you guys are married Muslim. Great. So why all of a sudden now, when you are doing whatever you're doing now, before the facts, I don't have to speak right now, because that's again going to be part of evidence of the the case before the court. So again, you have to go back on chronological order as to what happened. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's always an aggressor and there's always defender. So, but if you are accused of some crime that you have not committed, and because of your ignorance of the law yourself, and you being unaware of how the processes work here in Canada and the laws, we have two different laws. We have the civil code, and then you have the natural law where you can go and defend yourself, or you can assign anybody to go and represent yourself. It's called power of attorney for a reason. Or, for personal care or for financials, and, power of attorney. Essentially, the crown attorney means that someone is representing, attorney, crown, because the crown is all the way in UK, England. We are here, so crown attorney leaves. So come and go. They come and go. Whereas you are the person behind the bars. You have to stand up and defend yourself, defend your natural rights and freedom, especially if you believe you're innocent and you've done nothing wrong. Why should you accept a shittier charges? Now they are basically in breach of your own jurisdiction as a man, because Canadian laws does not apply on you. You are not even a permanent resident. You are a refugee, right? You are a refugee, so they cannot apply their laws on you, because they first have to respect UN DRIP, United Nations Directive for the Rights of Indigenous People. You're Syrian. You're indigenous Syrian to the city of Aleppo, right? And I'm telling you everything you need to know to go and defend your case. And I'm told you, I will be defending this case myself, because, you are now a witness. You are a victim yourself, but you're also a witness. So I'm advancing my case before the court, but everything is connected, everything is implicated, because now there's, breach of trust. Not only that, there's, municipal corruption. I have to prove the facts, and this is part of evidence. So now my other brother, Ammar, he's also here for 5 years, but now he's permanent resident, because he was brought to Canada under a sponsorship application from his own wife, which she had traveled to Sudan, a blacklisted country. And he also had traveled to Sudan, during wartime in Syria. They met in Sudan. And then on that paper, common law paper, Sharia, right? They are married Muslim. She comes back to Canada, and then suddenly she's able to sponsor her man. Future husband. So now, he's in the country for a year and a half. He's working, 6 to 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. He's making money. And the reason why I know all of this, because I was representing him yesterday. On the 27th of February. So that was basically what I said. I love this number. 27 is my July birthday, right? But I love 27. So we go February 27th. I'm going to help my brother Ammar, because now he has been basically, the crown prosecutor is is pushing this allegation against my brother, unlawful allegation, bogus allegation, and his defense lawyer, so to speak, he's also a stooge, because he's being paid by no other than the legal aid. And who's pushing the charges? The federal government. And who's paying the defense lawyer? The Canadian government, courtesy of the public tax. Clear conflict of interest. How is that fair and just trial for my brother? It's not difficult to understand. It's not difficult to know that you are breaching his, just constitutional right as a human being, natural person. This guy did nothing wrong. You know that. The defense lawyer have heard my brother. If I'm innocent, I'm going to tell my lawyer I'm innocent. It's the onus on the lawyer to, build the case and make sure that I'm innocent. But, unfortunately now, you've got a government that is corrupt. Everybody's complicit, from, the person making the call, to the police, officer trying to press the charges, to the, justice of the peace, to the crown prosecutor. This is the circle, man. If you can, control that circle, you can control the outcome. So that's why you go to the Supreme Court of Justice, because municipalities has nothing to do on the holy union of a family. The guy was married in Sudan. What laws do fucking apply on the guy's case? Go back to natural law. Under the natural law, he has the right to believe what he believes, and you got to go back to the facts. And let's hear the facts. But don't just try and make a deal with the guy, because they tried to make the same deal with me after they were losing. Now they're suddenly trying to tell me, we recommend that the accused, myself that is, agree to lesser charges as to not affect my criminal code, my criminal record. Go fuck yourself. What criminal record? I have zero criminal record. I did nothing wrong. I caused no harm. You are in breach of trust yourself. You have the obligation, fiduciary duty, to basically, act in good faith and represent and save and protect. Not to, apprehend and, assault a citizen of the land. I did nothing wrong. So this is the problem, right? And my other brother Ammar, what's his name? Abdul Hamid, right? The poor guy, man, he's only been here for less than 2 years, and suddenly, like, you know, he's been separated from his 4 children. I mean, why is it that the law agrees and acknowledges that a mother's right to being a mother, but, you know, denies a father right to being a parent? Like, what the fuck is up with that? You know, they were brought into here by sponsorship from the Kenyan government. 2 years. They are not even, you know, permanent resident just yet. They're still refugees. 2 years. They need to wait until next year before they actually can apply for, you know, citizenship. But now with this happening with my brother, you know, you can kiss the citizenship goodbye because that's a privilege. And now he's, you know, he's sexually, no, this wasn't sexual assault. It was assaulting his wife, right? Allegedly. Right? When again, you know, you have to bring the case, and this is all public record. I mean, you know, it's not like I'm saying someone private matter. You go to the courthouse and you can basically put the file number or the person's name, and this is all public record. You can seek any case. This is not about confidentiality and bullshit. This is about suppressing knowledge and information under the Privacy Act. Bullshit. I'm talking. This is my YouTube channel. This is my personal channel. So yes, part evidence, part educational, part everything, because this is who I am. Let's go to the court. Let's go to court. I'm not running away from the law. I'm waiting for you to acknowledge my application, because now suddenly I have to, you know, go through like 100 emails, right? Forms to be filled before I can look. It's been 45 minutes. Imagine I want to write this down. Like, I can't even, you know, begin. I can't even begin. Like, what am I going to tell you? How many pages? Look, you limit the testimony or the affidavit for like 20 to 25 pages. Like, man, I've been talking for 45 minutes. 45 minutes plus. So I can talk till the cows come home. Now, because I have this energy, because I know what I know, because I'm an engineer, under a space, smart man, intelligent, entrepreneur, but it just so happened that the crime is I was born indigenous Palestinian, right? Born refugee in the city of Damascus. I left the country back in 1999, October 26. We landed in, you know, fucking Ottawa International Airport. Welcome to Canada. I did not speak a word English. I bet now you cannot even follow me. But anyways, so this is where I am in life, and yeah, I'm optimistic, man. You're trying. Look, I went with my brother, so this was on the 27th, right? So I was helping my brother Ammar, and all I had to go is go to the support center in Alberta. It's a provincial government, right? And I go into the office and I sign a consent form that I, you know, representing my brother as his legal, trusted agent. It's simple as that. You don't have to go bring a lawyer, so to speak. You know, the law understands. You have a natural right to go and bring somebody with you. You do not have to rely on the government to provide you with a so to speak, a translator or somebody to explain. Because remember, the translator can only translate from English to Arabic, right? But the translator cannot translate the law on what the law is trying to tell you. So here I am, you know, talking to the lady. Her name is Angela, you know, and again, I have the evidence. You know, I have I filled the 21 pages application from my brother so he can receive Canada Pension Plan, you know, disability. Why? Because the Stooges, the defense lawyer, right, made a mental health defense argument against for my brother who is innocent, so that basically now for the next 3 years he's under this, you know, medical treatment, you know, injections every 3 weeks he's taking an injection. And over the years he went from basically working 12 hours a day, 6 days to 7 days a week, sometimes making $7,500 a month, to basically being a couch potato. He has been in the shelter for 3 years. The last month or so, basically, when I met him through my brother Abdulhamid, because remember I met them both at the mosque, and they had just met maybe a week or two prior to me meeting them all. And this was a Calgary Southwest Mosque, right? And since then we've been together, sleeping together, you know, at the same time, you know, at the same place. Sorry, you know, we're eating together, we're sharing our story, we're supporting each other, and you know, before you know it, I go with my brother Ammar. He had a second appointment to medically diagnose assessment. Remember, they were pushing this NCR, non-criminal responsible. So my brother's defense lawyer is now suddenly threatening because Ammar had been, you know, missing some appointments, because he told me, my brother tells me, I do not feel good. I don't want to take this shit. And he tells me in my language, in Arabic, he's tired. I don't want to take it. And we're sitting down on the couch. We're talking. We're having food. We're just reflecting. And, you know, I tell him as I learn more about his case, you know, on his story. And, you know, I like, wow, how is this possible? A man was 34. He's now 34. You know, for the last 5 years, he was like, listen, man, not a thing you can do to bring back those days. You're liable. Especially, you know, if you have also been, you know, conspiring and fabricating evidence. That is, you know, misleading justice. You can be criminally charged, and you will be. And I'm just going to have to bring the case forward. So the next day, the 27th, so this was the 27th, right? We went to the Alberta Support ACE program. And I filled up the application. I submitted my application Friday, yesterday. It was too big. I had to scan 21 documents. It was over 75 megabytes. So what I do, I make a zip file, I make a Google Drive, I upload the files to my Google Drive, raw pictures as well as the zip file in case they want to download all in one shot. But the email only allowed me to send the 25 megabytes. So I had to send my email now on two transmission, 1 and 2. The first 10 pictures and then the next 11 pictures, and on top of that I still need to provide them with the the identification, social insurance number, and a bank statement for the last 30 days. And I wonder why 30 days. I'm going to give them the last 90 days or so, because the last 30 days means nothing, right? And then they also wanted what so the application, the SIM card. The deposit, direct deposit, so the money can come. And now remember, when I went to him, so this was a Canadian pension plan, CPPD disability benefit, right? Allegedly, right? Or the idea is this, because he was working, and the government knows this. Remember, the government is pushing charges against this man. As the crown prosecutor is pushing this criminal charges. Now, the same government has a record of this man making money. Right now, because he was making money before, and now he's making a lot less on disability. Like went from 7,500 to making 562. Yes. Now they give him, we're going to give you CPP support, so he's going to be making something like $1,800.50 or some shit. But then again, there's, he can make money, but if he makes money, there's a maximum. So again, they get you everywhere. So then there's this funny, part where, she's telling me that, the government, so I'm filling this application, it's going to take about a year before the government to, federal government that is, because right now this is coming from provincially. As soon as they receive the email, they would release the funds. So it's on me right now to finish the application, because the first 2 emails I sent did not have all the documents. So now I have to resend with basically the remaining documents that they asked, the direct deposit, the SIM card, photo, or so to speak, the identification, as well as the bank statement. So, and he will get the money the next day. So I helped him. Everything's good. Everything's kosher. We're happy. We're walking out. We're celebrating. You should see us all happy yesterday. It was amazing on the 27th. Sorry. Then yesterday on the 28th, before I came, today is the 1st. So yeah, on the 27th was a great day. And the 28th was interesting because my brother had the court assessment. Remember, they made a mentally health condition out of the fact that there was some bogus allegation towards him. And for 3 years he's taking this injection. He went from making 7,500, as I said, to making 562. Now he's going to be receiving CPPD. But the point is this. It goes against the person's character. I mean, nobody, listen, man, if the guy's innocent, the guy's innocent. If the guy is guilty, the guy is guilty. But you have to go through the due process of the law and apply justice, impartial justice. You cannot be in a clear and direct conflict of interest, pushing charges against the guy, and then suddenly you have to basically now, defend him. It doesn't work. So now the government, because they fucked up, the crown prosecutor realized, oh shit, we're gonna make this guy disability. Now his disability claim has to go through. So the last 6 months, actually, his disability claim has been basically approved, and he will be receiving money for retroactively for 6 months, for the last 6 months. Suddenly now, when I got the call from this Stooges lawyer, right? Because my brother had missed his appointment apparently on the 14th, Valentine's Day, go figure. And that was supposed to be the NCRMD, which is for, non-criminal responsible medical diagnosis. You schmuck, if you're pushing that, you are advancing that argument, and the approval for, the CPPD already has gone through, and, retroactive for 6 months. Why is my brother still taking those medication? You have all the reasons, all the arguments to basically, push and advance and, give him basically not house arrest. He should be NCR. NCR means non-criminally responsible. If you believe that he is innocent, but now that's your approach of defending him, because you're not asserting, you're not a good lawyer. You're a Stooge lawyer. You have been paid by no other than the same entity pressing the charges against the man. That's a conflict of interest. So now it's deal, right? It's like, who's dealing? So and that's kind of where everything's going to lead, because we have to talk before the court. Let's talk. Medicine Hat, Brooks. Let's talk. The premier herself will be one of the jury members. No, let's talk. So that's basically what I have for the day. And yesterday we got into this. We got kicked out of this house. You have to understand. Like, when I say I'm caring for this guy, right? This guy, essentially, we were 3 of us. So I was made homeless by the Architects RCMP, right? And then, they realize they fucked up. There's nothing on me. There's non-custody, basically. So now they offer me and my brother Abdul Hamid this courtesy ride. We got dropped off at the Southwest Calgary, you know, hospital center, whatever the case may be. Now, because I'm from Ottawa, Ontario, I was just trying to talk to somebody there to see where can we go, because we have no shelter. Like, I was sleeping in the car. The room that Abdul Hamid had rented, he had rented from an Indian brother, but, you know, he had told him that there would be two of them. Because now I showed up and I was made homeless. Now he invites me over. He's like, listen, you're not gonna sleep on the street. You know, come over. He already had made arrangement for, you know, to be closer to his kids. You know, so he rented, you know, a room for $1,000, and whereas we were staying, two of us, for $500 with this man. Now the man shows up, you know, a few days prior. I think it was the 20. I have to double check. It was on Monday, because that's when I got the U-Haul. So, you know, the guy shows up, and, you know, I believe it was a Sunday. I have to double check, because, you know, I got the U-Haul the day off. And then, you know, my brother and I, we're not going to sleep on the street, so I'm caring for this man. And, you know, we sleep in the truck. That's right, we sleep in the truck. So what? I just keep the car on, the truck on, and then we're warm. You know, my natural rights for a shelter, man. The government is not helping me. I'm a citizen. I do not qualify for any of this shit. My brother got kicked out. You know, he was in a shelter beforehand. He has yet to receive his, you know, support money, so to speak, support money over the last 6 months. And listen, man, like, you just made a man, and then, you know, like you just made a man homeless with bullshit allegation. So my natural rights triumph your bullshit. So that's basically when I say he's in my care. Now I go with him the next day on the 28th to the you know, to the appointment for the NCRMD, right, assessment. And then suddenly they have, we've been waiting, you know, our time is for 2:30, but they don't want to basically, you know, appear. And then, you know, suddenly me and my brother Ammar, we're waiting. And then there's a person, you know, she shows up. I don't know, I figured she was a nurse, or sorry, a patient herself. Turned out that, you know, essentially when that was the